Ken Wyatt speaking to Patricia Carvalho. The Australian agriculture industry has been plagued with worker shortages since the beginning of the pandemic, and industry leaders have called for an expansion of the seasonal worker program. But representatives of the Pacific Islander community say more protections are needed first. For more, I'm joined by Imelda Davis, who's the chair of advocacy group Australian South Sea Islanders. Imelda Davis, thank you so much for your time. Why is there a need for greater protections for seasonal workers?
First and foremost, I'd just like to acknowledge that we're on the Gadigal country and those nations that accept our seasonal workers from our homelands of the Pacific. And one of the major issues that we're facing here is healthcare. Now, we're well aware of the fact that there are a lot of good farmers out there that are working tirelessly to encourage the seasonal worker scheme and support our peoples, our families that are coming to this country. But there are people there that are seeking to exploit vulnerable people. So some of the challenges we're facing are the exploitation of some of those people that are coming here to work under good intentions and under contractual agreements, but we're running into issues where they're reaching out to our local communities and pastoral carers in our communities for help.
And are you concerned that that situation is being exacerbated by the pandemic because there is a shortage of fruit pickers in Australia?
That's right, Katrina. These are essential workers that are coming here, giving their time, their lives, their goodwill to our country and putting food on our table relentlessly. You've got a $128 million mango industry that's received something like 300 workers from my homelands of Vanuatu. These people are ready to work and support our nations, but we need to be respectful in giving back to those people and making sure that they receive the same respect as every other Australian worker, which is not happening in many cases.
You mentioned healthcare. So what specifically about healthcare is required and what other specific protections are needed for these workers?
As taxpayers, or Australian taxpayers, as every other, citizen of this country, these people pay taxes and they should be entitled to Medicare that assists them when they run into situations where they're working in new skilled industries, getting their arms caught in tractors and different things that have occurred that we're aware of. So where's the help there for these people as tax-paying people of this country? And also on going back to their homelands, they need to actually be able to access those taxes and take those back as part of their livelihood in rebuilding their countries and societies, and it's not an even playing field here. And we've run into a lot of examples of that. But it's not to take away that we're all in this together. We need to work together. This is the mantra of Australia. This country is built on multiculturalism, and this country is built historically on the backs of our people that were blackbirded here in the 1800s. So let's learn from the past and work together in fixing these issues that our people are facing. Health is paramount.
And on that point, what greater cultural support could be implemented?
I think the cultural support in terms of pastoral care in the local communities. Australian South Sea Islanders exist all over this nation in particular. That hasn't been addressed to its fullest capacity. These are people on the ground that have alignment with their homelands, their Pacific nations. Our organisations have been working tirelessly for the last 170 years to, earn the respect of our governments, to consider us as a part of some of the solutions that are happening on the ground here. We receive these people with open arms because they are our families. They are our loved ones. You look at them, you see me.
Yeah, so have you made those outreaches as part of the Australian South Sea Islanders to government, and has there been any kind of response?
Absolutely. Look, for the past, 6 years or so, we've been talking to government, and we're really emphasising a cultural framework that needs to be considered, as is First Nations protocols working in this country with community. We're born into a cultural perspective in terms of customary practices, languages, ways of doing, knowing and being as Indigenous peoples from our own homelands. So we need to apply that thinking around policy and development so that we can communicate clearly. One of the challenges we've got here is that these contracts are not necessarily understood by even both parties. You know, you've got some wonderful people out there that are working in our communities, farmers that are suffering because, as a result of, you know, the lack of clarity around, you know, what they can and can't do. There's challenges already that are starting to surface. We need to fix this before the borders are lifted from the COVID pandemic.
Imelda Davis, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tomas.